And now people can see us now, Sean. I don't know if you know.
Well, Ryan, man, I should actually take a picture of what my setup is looking like right here, dude. Because I have you on Discord on my laptop, which is propped up on the ice bowl thing.
Mm-hmm.
A different webcam that I brought with me. I've got my headset that I normally wear for the actual driving of the show. Then I've got my iPad down here so that I can see the chat, and I see Kevin and Court and Andrew Watson coming on in.
Hello,
and hopefully
friends.
it's not too echoey in here, but
Yeah.
it's different. Do you hear the echo?
I can't hear the echo. In fact, I probably wouldn't have noticed it unless you said something. But also in the chat as well, friends, this is the first time I think I've live streamed with Sean on the other end. So if the audio sounds out of sync, like if I'm louder than Sean or Sean's louder than me, please let us know in the chat.
Different
if
setup.
The audio sounds weird because we got a different setup today. In fact, it's so different, Sean, that because of the way I have OBS set up, we're actually on opposite sides this week. I'm on the left and you're on the right this week.
Oh, I never even would have noticed.
You're in the Ryan Turford seat apparently because of the way Discord sets up where the positioning,
and there's I'm no way to change it.
Oh, there's a way to change it. I'm just too lazy to change it back because believe it or not, when you're at home, Sean, it actually does it in the opposite direction where you're on the left and I'm on the right. But for some reason today, I tried, moving it around. I'm like, I'd have to move this around in OBS and then I'll have to move it around later. So I'm just going to leave it for today. It's a day. It's a Xbox drive on the road, Sean, essentially today. So
we are on the road. Yes, we're going to be on the road again later on this week too, man.
Yeah, I know.
I do not have my camera tied up. It's actually this was the thing. Like when I recorded with Kevin on Project X Talk, I had like this perfect desk lamp that was like basically like a boom kind of arm that I was able to attach my camera to. This time I not so much, and my laptop isn't very big, so even if I put the camera on top of it, it's still quite low. The camera that's built into the laptop is at the bottom of the monitor, and it's like the dumbest placement. Who accepts that?
Of course.
Nobody accepts it. Just don't even put it in there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Sean, are we ready to give the people what they want? Give them the show about the driving with the Xbox? Are you ready to yell at me?
I am, but there's so much more. I don't know what's going on. I'm a little self-conscious about it today, Ryan. Not gonna lie.
I can imagine.
Okay.
That's a big swig of water.
I got a liter of water, dude. It's hot.
Yeah.
And I just walked 25 minutes.
You wait till you come to Toronto this weekend, Sean, because it's
is it gonna be hot this weekend?
It's gonna be like 30 degrees with humidity this weekend. So
is it really? Oh no. So, I don't have. Well, I just got my Xbox Drive shirt.
Just bring shorts. That's all I say. That's all I say at this point.
How about just no pants? Can we just agree that no pants is the way to go?
No pants is the way to go.
Gotta hydrate the voice. All right. Oh, man. I wanted to surprise you a little bit, Ryan.
Oh?
Wanted to surprise you with a little something. Wanted to get you kind of sidetracked thinking about something else, and then I would do something like, hey, everyone, it's me, Sean Capri. I'm glad you're here because you're listening to the most horse-powerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Ryan Turford, the weatherman on the moose, and on our journey today, we got that Street Fighter coming back to Xbox, and we are about to jump on into the Xbox Plus Bethesda week of amazingness, so jump on in to the Xbox Drive. Ball
greater than X. No power greater than X.
Hello, Sean Capri.
Hello, Ryan Turford. We haven't had you welcome me back into the show for a little while. It's always you at the helm, but I am on the road. I'm in Kelowna, beautiful Kelowna, British Columbia, as we are. The Xbox Drive is on the road today, my friend.
I'm very glad to be doing the show with you. I mean, I know you're on the road, but I am thankful that you carved out some time to be with us this week. I know you've got kind of a busy week ahead of you between your conference now, but then also, Sean, this is the last time we're podcasting virtually before we're to see each other in person this weekend, which is going to be awesome.
Can you believe it? We've seen each other in person multiple times, and we still do this together. We haven't scared each other off. We're still friends. We're still doing the show. It's Kelowna, says Project X. Yeah, Kelowna is in a province called British Columbia in the west side of Canada, and it's right along the beautiful Okanagan Lake, Ryan, which is giving off all this humidity right now. Even when it's cloudy, it's incredible. I'm looking out my window. It's like mountains. It's absolutely perfect, and I'm feeling a little grateful that I'm even here, my friend.
That's awesome. I mean, I've never been to Kelowna before. I've been to BC a couple times, but I've never been to Kelowna specifically before. But it sounds like a nice place, although I'm not a big fan of humidity. So I don't know how much I would love it there in particular, because it sounds very humid there. Which
Just
it
stay
does
inside.
here in Ontario as well. But,
Yeah, a little bit.
yeah, but it defeats the purpose of going all the way there if you're just going to stay inside the whole time, Sean.
Look, when people say like Canada is a beautiful country and then they go like, oh, you live in Canada, like, is it beautiful? Like, I live in not beautiful Canada. This is beautiful Canada. This is what it's all about, man. So very cool. Very lucky that I get to be here. And through the power of the internet, we can still connect and talk about video games and podcast and broadcast to all of our friends and listeners and watchers out there.
Absolutely. And this is 1 week you wouldn't want to miss either, because, all kinds of crazy stuff's going on. We'll get to that. But before we get into all that, let's clean the garage a little bit. So folks at home, if you want to support the show, there's a number of awesome ways to do that. Number one, if you're watching the live stream right now on youtube.com/carpoolgaming, don't forget to hit like on the live stream. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. I'm in a mess today, Sean. And don't forget to hit that bell for notifications of when we go live. Also, if you're listening to us on audio feeds, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as rate us if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Maybe 5 stars if you're so kind. Also, if you want this show a little bit early as well, some exclusive content, head over to patreon.com/carpoolgaming. Through a little tip in the old tip jar, and out comes content. We were actually putting together our little schedule for this weekend. I think we've got like 5 Patreon exclusive shows coming this month. So lots to look forward to on the Patreon, folks. So you head over there, patreon.com/carpoolgaming. Also, if you want an Xbox Drive shirt or a shirt of some kind from one of our other Carpool Gaming shows, head over to our merch store. The link is in the description of this video, or if you're listening on audio feeds, it's in the show notes. And then, of course, we will be in person at Xbox Fan Fest in Toronto this weekend. Again, last call. If you haven't hit up Sean already and you're in Toronto on Saturday night, specifically, please reach out to Sean. We actually had someone reach out to us just yesterday, even. I told them to talk to you. So more people sound like are coming to...
Who was it? Have I talked to them? Who was it?
John, specifically.
Oh, yeah, we've connected.
Okay,
good. Yes.
Okay,
yep.
good. Because
yeah, we're good.
It sounds like we've got quite the Carpool Gaming meet and greet going on, Sean.
Dude, Saturday. It's gonna be incredible. And I think our friend Brock McLaughlin was tweeting about this. Like, there's the Xbox show, but primarily there's the meetup. Like, really, like, Saturday is going to be incredible. Many of us are going to be together for FanFest as well, watching the Xbox plus Bethesda showcase that they have on the 12th. But, like, Saturday is kind of turning out to be a little something, man. Like, fellow podcasters, people from the media, friends from Carpool Gaming community. I am so looking forward to it. So my plan, Ryan, is I get home at about 3 o'clock on Friday. I'm going to record We the GamerCast with mostly Martinez that night. I'm going to have a nap, and then I'm going to fly out to Toronto and land at 2:40. And then it's go time, baby. Like, oh my gosh, I'm stoked. All the energy drinks, all the water. Got to stay hydrated. Got to stay active. We got to do this, man.
It's going to be a good 25 or 27 hours, I think you were saying, before you have to go back, essentially. So
pretty much. Yeah. Just a brief stint in Toronto, for goodness sake.
Exactly. But then I have 2 other things I want to highlight before we get in the show. Number
Please.
1, Summer Game Fest happening tomorrow. 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we at Carpool Gaming are going to go live. It's going to be me, Sean Capri, as long as Sean Capri's internet doesn't die.
I'm in.
Courtney Lawn will be there for at least a little bit. And then we may or may not have 2 special guests. I don't know if we've confirmed them yet, so I didn't want to say their names.
We can confirm one of them. We can definitely confirm... Should we say it? Should we tell the people?
If it's confirmed, we should say it. I'm only holding off of saying it because I don't know if we...
Mr. Badbit, the son of a bitch from PS Trophy Room. The reason I say that is, man, a lot hinges on this weekend when it comes to our fantasy league, man. And we should actually we talk about it so much, we should put a link to our fantasy critic in the show notes. We're going head to head with the Trophy Room, Mr. Badbit, Mr. K-Step, and just seeing how this next part of the year is going to turn out. Dude, we're just crossing over into the second half of 2022 here.
That's crazy.
Like, we're there. Oh my gosh, it's too much to wrap my head around.
And
I don't know. Was the second person somebody else from the?
Because I don't think Kyle might be there. Is what
I don't think it's happening.
Okay,
but yeah, so definitely. I mean, what I love about this too, Ryan, is it doesn't have to be like one or the other. I love when we come together about this. Of course, we're going to be trash talking each other the entire time when God of War gets announced for January 2nd, 2023, and therefore not applicable to the Trophy Room's fantasy
I'm
critics.
sad about that though, because I have it in the Carpool Gaming League, and I was,
I know,
counterpicked.
I'm torn on it, dude. And I mean, here's the podcast within a podcast. Well, we have a PlayStation podcast, I guess, but we're gonna do a quick pit stop. As a player of video games, do I want God of War to come out? Yes, like that would be incredible. As a competitive person in this league and observing the fact that typically PlayStation doesn't really ever do a holiday game, not happening. So I get to play both sides, and eventually I'll be right in either case.
Well, that's why I made sure to pick, God of War in our Carpool Gaming League, Sean. So then that way, regardless of what happens, I win. Whether it gets delayed, we kind of win in the Trophy Room versus Xbox Drive League. And if it doesn't get delayed, I get points in the Carpool Gaming League, and then get to shove those negative points down Cortland Lawn's throat, apparently, because he.
Oh snap! Yeah, no, he's gonna. I mean, him and Kato are in a heated competition for dead last.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. But I actually, two of our games came out that we had, Mario Strikers and The Quarry, got really reviews today. And
yes, did you see the scores on The Quarry? Yes.
Yeah. I'm very excited for that game. I didn't even need to read reviews to be excited about it. I have it pre-purchased. It's sitting on my console. I'm ready to play it on Friday before I see you guys. And just the review scores just make me even more excited for that game.
Quartz in the chat says, I don't care, though. That's the loser's attitude, you know? Like, then don't even... You play to win the game. You don't just play because you play to win the game, okay?
And then, last thing I want to highlight real quick, Sean, you were on another channel.
Oh, yeah.
That was a bit of a surprise. I didn't even know about that. I saw it go live. I clicked the link because I was like, oh, I like Game Acclaim. It reverts so well. And I know Joey usually puts together their Xbox conference. And then who do I see on my screen but Sean Capri over on Game Explain? So
wearing a Sonic t-shirt, no less. Joey Ferris, man, thank you for bringing that up. Joey Ferris, longtime friend, kind of out of there's this thing in the indie podcast group, at least some of our friends. We kind of look at the years 2015, 2016. We're like, we're a class of 2015. We started in and around that time, and there's a bunch of us. Nintendo dads are right around there as well, and there's a few others. I think PSVG in there as well. And Joey Ferris was doing a show called Game and Talk, obviously a take on Game and Watch, and we became friends for Bobby Pauls and have just stayed in touch all these years. And then lo and behold, he goes on to be part of the Game Explain team. So yeah, now apparently when Xbox stuff comes up, he hits me up, and yeah, I cleared my schedule for that, dude, because it's a great opportunity, and lots of people have been able to watch that video, and I got to do some more predictions for this whole Xbox thing in a different kind of way. So people should, if they haven't already, a lot of people have been very kind to hit me up and say they watched the video and they enjoyed it. But yeah, if you haven't already, go check that out. I threw in a dark horse prediction in there, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it. But
oh, you don't want to spoil? Okay, I won't spoil it. So
there's something that you haven't heard. I want people to go watch the video and go give it a like and go see.
It's very cool.
Game Explain as well.
Definitely.
Because
thanks.
the more likes they get on that video, Sean, the more likely they ask you to come back. So
that's true. That's true. So. Yep, very cool.
Well, let's slam the brakes on this conversation because it's time to grab our 8 tracks and pop them in because it's time for the playlist. I don't know why I combined those.
The breaking news.
Again, I'm out of sorts today. I don't know what's wrong with me.
It's so good, dude.
Sean, I know you're on the road. Did you really get to play anything this week?
Dude, I did, and I'm still kind of playing the same thing, but I want to talk to you about something. I'm continuing on with, and I'm nearing the end of Rise of the Tomb Raider, but something I'm playing for the first time in Rise of the Tomb Raider that I didn't play the first time was the Baba Yaga DLC stuff.
Nice.
Did you? I feel like I've actually heard you talk about this. I feel like I'm rewinding like years, and maybe even on the Game Moose podcast.
Well, I've actually replayed Rise of the Tomb Raider about 4 or 5 times now since it came out.
It's so good, man.
I so when I was replaying it, I've played through that a couple times.
This DLC, this extra kind of like side mission is excellent, dude. And not to give too much away, but it definitely gave me some Control vibes, and even like Batman Arkham, maybe Nighter City, with like Scarecrow. Basically a lot of like hallucinations and things aren't what they seem. But what a creative take. Like, definitely felt like it was part of the story, even though it came in afterwards. And I just sometimes feel like with Uncharted and with Tomb Raider, things get a little crazy, little like too supernatural, but this like seemed to fit in a way that what was presented was very imaginative and different from what I was playing before, but still really fit. So yeah, like I was always kind of like weirded out even just by the name. Like, what is this Baba Yaga stuff? But I dove in and it was excellent, dude. So I'm kind of just achievement hunting at that point. There's a bunch of different achievements that are related directly to that DLC. So I'm cleaning up that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've been playing lately.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I really like that DLC again. It's not too long, not too short. Like I feel it's the perfect length. And
Totally.
It was also a great price too when it came out, because I think it's like less than $5 I think for that DLC too. So
But I also think like and this is maybe me with DLC is like I want it just part of the thing. Like this gets back to like even the original arguments we used to have. We don't have these arguments anymore really about DLC, about like what should just be included in the original game. Like I'm playing it alongside everything else. I honestly don't know if I had like going back to whatever year this was, 2014, the game comes out, I play and finish it, then I buy DLC and I go back to do Baba Yaga. Like I don't know if I would have done it that way. The way it just goes sort of like intertwined with the story, my progression in the game this time worked way better. I never know. I don't want just the mission to like appear out of nowhere, even though I finished the game. Like I always struggle with that.
Yeah.
I think there's an example of that in Mass Effect as well. What was the you're on the comet or something on the asteroid?
Bring down the
Bring down the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that one, like that was great to replay it afterwards and have it like melded in where I almost didn't even realize it was DLC. But to finish a game and then go back and get this extra mission, just I don't know.
No, I'm
Doesn't jive with me
actually in
too
the same boat with you. Whenever there's DLC that's like that, I don't usually do that. If I'm going to replay the game, then I will play the DLC as part of it. Like, or likewise, if I'm late jumping in a game, because I've talked about this on Game Boost podcast, but when Horizon Zero Dawn came out, I didn't play it right away. I actually played it, that November for Game of the Year time. And that was when Frozen Wilds came out.
West?
And
yeah.
And essentially they wove that into being part of the story as well, and also set up some of the events for Forbidden West. That was one of the reasons I'm glad I waited to play that game, because then I could play it as kind of like one package, and it felt like a natural fit in that game if you played it just as part of the story as well. I'm in the same boat as you. I actually agree about that with DLC. It's not very often I go back for DLC that's not like standalone DLC on its own, like something like Assassin's Creed.
Basically an expansion pack.
Like I think Assassin's Creed DLC for like Odyssey or Valhalla are good examples of DLC I will probably go back to, because they are like standalone from the main story. They're this own thing. And please, I'm never going to replay Assassin's Creed Odyssey from the beginning, because that's just too long of a game to replay.
Good point.
So I'm glad that type of DLC for that long of a game is, it's standalone and it's kind of its own story separate from, the main game story.
Sure.
Yeah. But as for me, I have an interesting selection of games this week, Sean.
Oh.
Number one, after the Sony State of Play last week, I was really in the mood for Resident Evil, but I've been waiting for the Xbox Series versions of Resident Evil 2 and 3 to come out later this year, which we just don't know when they're coming out, but I'm kind of waiting on those to replay them. So I got out my PS3, because I've got Resident Evil 2, the original, for PS1 just sitting on the hard drive. I played that like 3 times. I went through the story, Leon A, Leon B, and then Claire A, just because I just felt like replaying Resident Evil 2, because it's one of my favorite all-time favorite games, and I loved revisiting that. But on the Xbox side of things, Sean, and this is unexpected for someone like me, because it's not very often I ever talk about wrestling, because I don't watch wrestling, and I haven't played a wrestling game in like 10 years. But I saw a certain little game go on sale. WWE 2K22 went on sale. I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I was waiting to maybe like wait for the PlayStation trial with PlayStation Plus to come out later this month before, trying it out and see if it was for me. But I saw it go on sale for a price where it's like, you know what? I think I can, jump into this now and definitely play it. So I've been playing that since yesterday, because I just picked it up yesterday, and Sean, this game's really fun. I'm actually having a lot of fun with WWE 2K22. I mean, I used to play wrestling games back on the N64 with No Mercy or WCW versus NWO, and had fun with those games with my friends. And then it was kind of like the PS2, PS3 era of wrestling games. I kind of really fell off wrestling games.
Sure.
And again, it's just one of those things where I'm not really into wrestling, so I don't really have that carrot on the end of the stick to kind of like keep me invested in the wrestling world. But I love the gameplay of wrestling games when they're done really well. And 2K22 feels like it's really well done as far as, the gameplay is concerned. I love the way combat works with, the light and heavy attacks, and you're kind of like doing different combos with those. And it always feels like very fighting game-esque. And I love kind of the grappling system and the countering system that's in it. And I mean, I made my own wrestlers, and I'm having a great time with this game. So when I'm playing through the story is pretty cool too. I like how there's branching paths, and you can either play as kind of like the good kind of character or the heel. And of course, you can probably guess what I decided to go with there. But
Ultra heel,
of course. But I'm having a great time with this game, and I can't wait to play more of it. So.
What kind of sale did you get it on? Like, was this like half off? Was it like what was the thing that kind of like pushed you over the edge?
It was 40% off, so close to half off.
Not bad. Okay.
Yeah.
This I think is waiting for me at the library, Ryan. But I still got Lego from the library. I still have Dying Light 2, which I'm actually really excited to get into. So yeah, as soon as I'm home, then yeah. But I'm gonna end up playing Xenoblade. I finished Reggie's book, which is more of a Nintendo thing, I know. But I finished Reggie's book on the flight over here, and going to be playing some Xenoblade. So that'll be probably my next focus here, because Garrett Bland is already well ahead of me on this. So we're supposed to be doing this together, but he's like, the train has left the station. He's doing his thing.
I love how Garrett
I'm also
Bland's
realizing
got,
there's a mirror behind me here.
I love how Garrett Bland's got not one but two kind of like video game book club things going on, because he's playing Xenoblade with you, but then he's also playing Golden Sun with the Shat crew and then myself. Because we're each gonna do Golden Sun episodes probably as soon as they finish it. So we got like two little mini book clubs going.
What a good man. I love it.
Well, anyways, now we're slamming the brakes on this conversation, Sean. It's time for some but breaking news, and we got an interesting news week. I mean, definitely you can tell it's the week of E3. Yes, I know it's not technically E3; it's Summer Game Fest. But let's be real. I was doing an
E3
episode of the RPG Cave with Garrett Bland on Monday night, and when we were talking about predictions, John, because we did our RPG predictions, it felt like E3 all over again. Like, it really feels like we're in the thick of it. Plus, we're seeing all kinds of crazy leaks and stuff like that too. And as in fact, we had a question about it a little bit later in the show, but we don't really talk about leaks on this show anyways. But lots of stuff going on. It really feels like it's the week, man. It feels like it's the week of E3 essentially, or the calm before the storm, before Summer Game Fest kind of kicks things off tomorrow.
Unless you like Nintendo.
Well,
then it's who the hell knows.
Well, we kind of actually know, but
wait, what? What do you mean?
I'll tell you off air. But
what? No. Just bring it up. Who cares? We have time.
So
what are you talking about?
It seems like the Nintendo Direct date got leaked. It's next week.
Let's go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll check into this. But
who
leaked it?
We're probably going to get a formal announcement this afternoon.
This is why you didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah.
Okay. Who leaked it? Was it?
So I don't want to say, but to get them in trouble.
But do we believe
it was because because they basically linked an embargoed email that had the information in
way.
It. And there's a whole discussion going out online about like how maybe you shouldn't leak embargoed information because you'll totally ruin your career, kind of thing.
Get lost. I've been in like sessions all morning. I've been like, man, I've had a whole day. It's 11:30 here. I've been up since 4:30. I've had a whole not online presence, not even a little bit. This is wild. Okay, I can't wait to look into it. Okay, thanks for telling me.
No worries. Anyways, speaking of
I would have been distracted looking on off to the side of the screen or something while you're talking about news. So
anyways, Microsoft have announced that they're going to be doing an extended stream after the showcase called the Xbox Games Showcase Extended that will air on June 14th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will feature developer interviews and extended looks at the games shown during the Xbox Games Showcase. This sounds like it's just an inside Xbox to me, basically with, just more information about the stuff we're kind of getting over the weekend, which is good because I saw some talk online And I think I saw this talk from a certain someone who's on the call with me saying, why didn't they just make this one conference or just make it a longer conference?
I didn't say that.
Oh, I saw you
I was
replying
responding
to
to somebody
talking
who
about
did.
that.
I was replying to somebody who did. People
Yeah.
who really question, like, what's the deal with this? Why wouldn't they just make the first one really good? And I just don't like this is how I read comments
Yeah.
on the internet, is that voice.
Whereas I'm glad that they're doing it this way, because
Me
we've
too.
seen what's happened with Inside Xboxes before when they do like the Twitch Xbox indie streams, for example, and they go for like 5 hours, and the dev interviews are nice, but I like the fact that they're kind of optional, where if you want to learn more about these games, they're going to have a separate, live stream for that, a couple days later, essentially, to go over that information. Like, I think this is the best of both worlds, where I like that you get all the information in an hour and a half on Saturday, or Sunday, and then you get the deeper dives like 48 hours later on another live stream.
Now, like most things, these types of discussions are not as great to be had on Twitter. They're much better to be had in actual discussions, like a podcast. And so, what I'm alluding to is a conversation I was having with Kyle Stevenson from the Trophy Room, who I think even better articulated it on the show, and people should definitely go check that out as well. In that, there's a little bit of a caveat that I hadn't really considered, because I'm coming at this from more is better, and Sony doesn't seem to want to participate in this week, and at least at that time, it seemed like Nintendo didn't really want to participate as well. So, given the information that we had at the time, I was like, yeah, if I'm Xbox, I want to own this week as much as possible. So if I have a presence at Summer Game Fest, and then on Sunday, and then like continuing on, why not? So I'm all in on that. I think it's a good strategy. The one perspective that kind of had me like shift a little bit and think about it was, I think Kyle had said something to the effect of like, they better not have anything new on the Tuesday thing, in that it should be more expansive of the things that we see on Sunday, because it does demand us to pay attention to a lot of things on a lot of different dates. And so it'll be interesting to see how that lands. Is it worth our time to tune into something for and like to just hear more about the stuff we already know about? Or is there a reveal that happens on Tuesday, and then do people feel slighted if they didn't have a chance to tune into that one as well? Like, it does complicate things a little bit, but I do like the fact that they're kind of dominating this week from that front.
Yeah, and history shows, because this isn't the first time they've done this, history
Good
shows
point.
that when they do it like this, they don't reveal anything new at the extended showcase or the Inside Xbox that happens afterwards. And in fact, it's usually Inside Xbox. This is the first year, I think, where they're doing the banner of, hey, this is a showcase extended instead of an Inside Xbox specifically. Because I think we haven't really had an Inside Xbox this year. I think maybe they're trying to get away from the Inside Xbox name and trying to do more stuff like
Please
this.
do. Please. Yeah, the whole, like, all of it. Just, throw it all out. But that's the whole thing. Like, you have to have a reason to tune in. So something is new. Like, something we have to tune in to see something we haven't seen before. So it's like maybe a game mode, or this is how you play this, or here's how catapults are built. Like, I don't know what they're going to do.
The trebuchets from Age of Empires, Sean. That's where we see that. Or, Paris putting on the sunglasses talking about, Top Gun in Flight Simulator or something like that.
Yeah, man.
Like, yeah, I expected this to be more details, but again, I think it's a good move. So, well, I'll definitely be watching. We won't be live streaming it, but we'll probably be watching it, by the way. Next up, speaking of showcases, and speaking of E3, essentially, Capcom have announced that their own showcase is happening on June 13th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which will have new looks at currently announced titles. They've already confirmed that Resident Evil 4 will get an extended look there. They've already confirmed that Street Fighter 6 will be there. I imagine this is where we get the details on Resident Evil 8 DLC, which is supposed to still come out this year at some point. And they still haven't told us anything about that other than the fact that it's coming. So, yeah, it's interesting. We're starting to see all these little showcases pop up. I'm waiting for Square Enix any day now, Sean, to announce that they're doing their own little showcase on top of all these other showcases. But again, definitely feels like E3 this week, which is pretty cool. But
this was one of the last ones I was expecting, and it's just really interesting to see how far Capcom has come over the last couple of years. And I have high expectations for them, because they kind of like they put themselves out there. They're going to do a showcase. And remind me, is this the first one that we've seen from them? I feel like this might be the first one.
No, they had one last year.
Oh, shoot. Okay. And last year was no good.
They just showed Phoenix Wright for like 25 minutes.
Yeah, it was no good.
And that's where they announced Resident Evil 8 DLC.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. So, okay, they've got to do better than that. What I was gonna say is, remember when Bethesda did their first one? Like the Bethesda's first one was like, wasn't that Fallout? That was Fallout 4. Was the first time they ever did an E3
Yes,
presentation.
it was.
So they kind of set the bar pretty high on that front. And last year, yeah, I'm recalling there was a bunch of different presentations that really was quite disappointing, and then had everybody back and like E3 doesn't matter and burn it with fire. So, but it does seem like they've got some stuff to tell us. It just goes into some of the things I keep talking about whenever E3 is coming up this last week or so, where it's like, it's good that we know what's happening. It's good that there's managed expectations, but I really hope that I can be surprised, at least with one thing, like something coming back. I don't even know what I want from Capcom, but that, like, for me, that's kind of what I'm signing up for, is show me something I had no idea was coming. Like, just totally blindside me on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, we already know it's only currently announced titles, so I'm not expecting anything like brand new,
yeah,
but I think
know.
Resident Evil 8 DLC could be impressive. So I'm interested to see what they do with that. And that's probably the thing I'm most excited to see there. Or again, we're getting more looks at Resident Evil 4, so maybe we get gameplay or something like that. Like, I think that would be interesting to see here. But you're right, Sean. Like, it's
the whole thing is like a really interesting conversation of like, where are things shown and like why are they shown there? Like, why Sony? Like, and I'm not mad about it, but it's just like, why? I don't know. Like, maybe, I guess for Capcom, they probably get more eyes at a PlayStation state of play than their own. Like, that's got to be the case, right? So it's just an interesting kind of like what goes on behind the scenes. And then for PlayStation, this is a question I asked about Bad Bit. Like, why would they, if God of War is going to show up during this week, why not own that on your own stage? Like, why give that reveal to Keighley? I still don't think I understand it. And the rationale I hear from sort of Sony side just seems it shifts every year. Like, the rules on like what the expectations are, all of it's different every time. Like, what's better, what's worse, and whatever Xbox is doing is worse, and whatever PlayStation does is like genius strategy. And I get a little frustrated by that. It's like the goalpost keeps moving down the field, man.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, next
obviously you agree. You are equally as frustrated.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's definitely annoying. Well, anyways, let's move on, because speaking of that state of play, we got a whole bunch of Xbox-related announcements from the State of Play. Now, we've already talked about some of these during our State of Play reactions episode for the PlayStation Drive, so we won't go into as much detail as we did over there, but we should talk about them here, because, I mean, not everyone who listens to this show listens to that show. So first up, Capcom has formally announced a Resident Evil 4 remake for Xbox Series X and S. This is not coming to Xbox One, only Series X and S, and it will arrive on March 24th, 2023, 3 days after my birthday, Sean. And of course, Resident Evil is one of my all-time favorite series. So, this is basically like a happy birthday to Ryan, essentially. I'm so excited for this game to come out. The trailer looked awesome, and I'm excited to see more, gameplay of what this is actually going to look like at the Capcom event. And Sean, now that we're, a couple days out, where's your hype level on this one? Has it changed?
No. This is such a great game, and home to one of my favorite characters of all time, Ryan. And you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Ashley?
The merchant.
Oh, yes.
What are you buying?
What are you selling? Oh, I'll buy that for a high price.
That's right. We can look forward to that in new high definition, whatever the heck. Dude, this game is awesome. So, as I reflect on even just my previous statements, I would love to see this, just the gameplay. And I don't know, like, where you, maybe I'll throw this back to you. Like, do you want to see a side-by-side comparison? Like, is that something that would be compelling to you, seeing like, here's what it used to look like, and then just whoosh, like, this is actually the same scene just in the remake?
So I think the side-by-side would be helpful for anyone who hasn't played the game before. So I think it would be a good idea to show that. For me personally, I'm not looking forward to that, because I know what Resident Evil 4 looks like. I've played it recently. But I mean, for most normal people who haven't maybe played Resident Evil,
the normies out there
who haven't played Resident Evil 4 since the GameCube era or the PlayStation 2 era, then yes, absolutely, I would love to see maybe a side-by-side comparison. I mean, I will say that the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 version of Resident Evil 4 does look pretty good still. Like, they actually did a lot of touch-ups with that. But I mean, from what we've seen in the trailer already with kind of the pre-rendered stuff that we saw there, like, it looks like leaps and bounds farther ahead than what we saw there. So maybe a side-by-side would be good. But I also think too that it looks like they're going to be changing a bunch of stuff with this game. For example, the beginning of the game, which normally takes place during the day, is now going to take place at night instead, which is of course where
Way
the famous,
scarier.
famous scene in the village. And it looks like there's gonna be new enemy types and stuff like that too. And in developer interviews as well, they talked about how they're gonna keep it faithful to the original game, but they're also gonna add a whole bunch of new stuff to it as well.
Awesome.
As new story stuff, new enemies, all kinds of different stuff, which is kind of what they did with Resident Evil 2. So I'm imagining kind of the same approach where, because Resident Evil 2 and the original Resident Evil 2 on PlayStation 1 are pretty different games. They follow the same track, but they're not exactly the same game. And I'm expecting kind of the same thing with this one as well.
Well, that's what I'm wondering about. Like, it's not like this game came out just yesterday. There's definitely been some time distance between this remake and when the game originally came out, but it's obviously quite a lot less time from now to Resident Evil 2. So I'm always curious, like, how much difference, right? And I guess that's where why my mind went more side to side to, like, as a visual upgrade. Whereas you're right, like, they are using the remake title here, like what they like, same as they've done with the previous iterations of this, which indicate or should indicate more than just a visual revamp. So yeah, I'm really curious. That does require a deep dive. Like, what does that mean? What's different? Like, how are we actually going to play this in a different way? Man, good call.
Yeah, and I mean, the one major difference I can tell you already that they're going to do this time is you won't have to stop to shoot enemies like you did in the original.
Oh wow!
Like it'll be like Resident Evil 2 and 3 where you can aim down sights and shoot while you're walking, which means
they're going to be faster. Everybody's moving faster.
Or I think like the chainsaw dudes that you fight in Resident Evil 4 are going to be like have like 3 times the amount of health that they had in the previous one.
Totally. Like, if you're more agile, like, yeah, then there's got to be something else to balance out the equation. It's not just to make it easier.
Yeah, but they'll still one shot you too. So it's just like,
I hope there's just instead of like a what's his name, Mr. X or whatever, like instead of like just a one chainsaw guy just chasing around everywhere.
Oh my god. That'd be really creepy, but it'd be like Leatherface and Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something like that.
Yeah, instead of footsteps down the hall, you hear just this.
Yeah. And they just, when you're walking through the castle, through like the second act, like all of a sudden you hear a chainsaw on the other side of the wall, and they just like cuts the wall open.
Oh no, like the Kool-Aid Man.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't there a mod? I loved all the mods. Like, there was like a Thomas the Train Engine or whatever, like all these different on the PC version, you could see it.
Yeah.
It was good stuff.
I mean, just to throw it out there, Sean, there is also a Kool-Aid Man video game on the Atari 2600. So you can play as the Kool-Aid Man in a video game, but not this one.
Yep. On my currently plugged in and totally owned Atari 2600 that I have. I absolutely own. Mm-hmm.
You've got that RF adapter out, and you're ready to throw it into your coaxial cable slot to play.
Oddly enough, I have a bunch of games, like in like a collection kind of briefcase kind of thing. Like, I have one of those. Like, E.T. is in there. I've got a bunch of stuff, but I don't have an Atari at all. I don't know why I have the games.
That's amazing, Sean. Well, next up, speaking of amazing things, Street Fighter 6. We already knew it was coming. It got a new trailer, but it got a release window, and it will arrive sometime in 2023. But the biggest news for this particular podcast, the game is coming to Xbox.
Yeah, man.
Thank God. Thank the maker that Street Fighter 6 is actually returning to Xbox. It's been a long time since we've had a Street Fighter game on Xbox. The last one was Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, which that game was awesome. Like, I love Street Fighter 4. I think it's a great fighting game. And Street Fighter 5, I think is a good game now after all of the work that Capcom put into it over the lifespan for that game. But I'm just so happy that we're finally getting the return of Street Fighter to Xbox. I think this is big news. Sean, what do you think?
I wish it was coming to Game Pass. It looks great. I thought that you were going to say that the biggest news about this is that they updated the logo, because that is big news.
That is big news.
I think that they were just really hyper-focused on the fact that, like, the previous logo was a hexagon, which is 6 sides, so they just wanted something like 6 there. And now the 6 itself is more of the shape of a hexagon. So I don't know if that's probably not all that interesting. I'm excited about this, man, and I also want to give a try and learn more about this like thing that we thought was Final Fight, or at least you pointed it out, and I agreed with it. I wouldn't have pointed it out at the beginning, but yeah, like, I want to see what is the story mode business that we got going on. So yeah, we can play it on our Xboxes with all the teraflops, Ryan, and yeah, I don't know. I haven't played a Street Fighter game in a long time, but this is when we talk about fighting games, like, I'm more of a Street Fighter person rather than a Mortal Kombat person, so this automatically piques my interest. But yeah, I have to admit too that I haven't really played one certainly not religiously in decades.
Yeah.
But glad that it's still here, and yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to try out the single player. I mean, speaking of Mortal Kombat, I think really NetherRealm really has set the bar for what campaigns in fighting games should be with the Mortal Kombat games and with Injustice.
Yeah.
So I really am hoping that, Capcom puts a lot of work into, the single player, if they're going to go as far as it looks like they're going with this, because it looks like they have this giant open world that you're going around. And kind of to touch on some of the stuff you talked about with the connections to Final Fight, we saw a statue for Mike Haggard, who's a Final Fight character, who's basically like the mayor of the town of Final Fight. And I think it takes place in like the main city that Final Fight takes place in, because it almost sounds like they're mashing those two universes together. And I mean, there's been a lot of crossover with Street Fighter and Final Fight for a while, because we've already had like some of the two main characters from, Final Fight be playable characters in Street Fighter before. We've also seen some of the enemies.
Like who? I don't know that.
I think I can't remember their names. It's like Cody and someone else.
Cody. Okay.
Yeah, they're very generic names, which is why I'm forgetting them. But also like Poison, who is like a female character. She started off as an enemy in Final Fight and became a pretty prominent fighter in Street Fighter 5 and 4 as well. So again, there's a lot of ties between those two franchises just in general, especially because they'll never make us, just a standalone Final Fight game anymore, I don't think.
No, and what a great way for it to sort of like live on in this way. So number one, like nice preservation and honoring the history there and the legacy. But also, I start to look at this kind of in the way that I look at like a Call of Duty game, where the single player game is there for people who enjoy it, but most people buy, and like the hardcores will buy Call of Duty for multiplayer and things like that. But like, I have fallen off of Street Fighter, and honestly, what would bring me back is a story driven like actual campaign, and almost in a way where it plays pretty differently from the other experience. So typically what we've seen with fighting games is like, instead of just playing against other people in a competitive fashion, you play against a computer controlled opponent in the exact same thing. Like it's still like the two opponents and the health bars and everything like that. But like, yeah, if there's another experience for me to look forward to play on my own, to get comfortable with the characters, that is a variety piece that might be enlightening to me as well. Like that's actually us moving the fighting genre forward in a way that is more inclusive, which I think is something that it has struggled with for many, many years. And it's creative, and it's required Capcom to be in a secure place to perhaps take a risk like this. So I'm saying a lot of things based on very little of what I've seen or learned, but I'm kind of guessing at and speculating on a lot of this. So with all of this said in our previous conversation as well, that Capcom showcase is going to be very interesting to me, because I am going to be looking for some specifics on some of these games, as it turns out.
Yeah, and also with Street Fighter, I'm glad you brought up specifics, because like that whole game is basically leaked out at this point too. So we already know like the whole cast of characters and stuff like that too. But I'm excited to see more from Capcom at the event, this weekend in actual high def in good.
Oh, is it this weekend
or
is it
sorry,
Monday,
not this weekend, on Monday. So close.
Yeah,
enough.
it's the 13th.
Close
yeah,
enough.
okay.
But you're right.
Well, maybe your weekend. I don't know.
Well, last bit of news before we go to questions. Sean, the Callisto Protocol got a new trailer and a release date, December 2nd on Xbox One and Series X and S. I think we both were super stoked for this one. Has that changed? Are you still stoked for this game? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And what I'm actually excited about, and I hope they stick the landing for this release date, which has got to be a strategic move to be one step ahead or 1 month ahead of what we think Dead Space is going to be coming out. That's what Dead Space says, that they're coming out, I think January 7th or something, early January.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that actually happens. But I am excited about this because I do want to play something new before I go back to the remaster. So yeah, I don't know. Let's play some of the most gory, horrifying experiences just in time for the holidays. Fine.
The perfect Christmas treat. And then when you're recovering from, your New Year's celebrations, it'll be just in time for more gory space stuff with Dead Space.
Oh my gosh.
Like, actually, the first, that 4 month period between, Callisto Protocol, Dead Space, and Resident Evil 4 Remake, that's going to be an awesome, 4 months for horror games.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, I'm stoked for this one too. I'm glad as well that they're not tying it to the PUBG universe as well. I like how it's kind of kind of be its
What was
own
that
thing.
even about? Like, what did?
Yeah.
Don't shoehorn it.
I don't see why that
know.
was exciting for literally anyone. So I'm glad that they're making it its own thing now.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's let some of our friends into the car with us, Sean. It's time for the carpool. We got some questions this week coming to us from Blaze Knight, who asks, how big of a mic drop moment would it be if the one more thing at the Xbox showcase was a GoldenEye 007 remake?
One more thing, because everybody's expectations for this game are in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if you're with me, or are we back online?
I was just double checking. We're good.
Okay. Everybody's expectations of this GoldenEye thing, which obviously is real. Achievements are popping even to this day. Everything. Everybody's like, whatever. It's just gonna be maybe a re-resed version of the 64 game. Nah, I'm with Blaze Knight. If this thing comes over the top and it looks great and it's got new modes and there's great new ways to play it, yeah, I think this could be an awesome one more thing. Natalia will never be a playable character because she's just going to be the person who like wobbles around and you got to escort her from point A to point B. She is completely useless, unfortunately, in these games. But I've made up this total idea in my mind, Ryan, where I would love to be able to, instead of Pierce Brosnan, nothing against him, I'd love to swap out different James Bond characters in this GoldenEye game. I think that would be amazing. I might be, and I think I said this on Joey's show as well, like, I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm the biggest fanboy of this remake, and I think it's going to be big. I think it's going to be better than what people are expecting, and mark my words, Ryan, it could be a one more thing.
It could be, but my only disappointment, I wouldn't be disappointed if they announced this at all. I would just be disappointed if this was the one more thing, because I think they could do bigger stuff with the one more thing than
Sure.
GoldenEye in particular. Like I think that's,
I'm not going to argue that.
I think GoldenEye could like start the show. I think that would be cool.
Sure.
I think like it would almost feel like Redfall last year ending the show, where it's just like, man,
But
Redfall
Redfall,
it looks okay. It looks pretty good, but I don't think it needed to be the one more thing kind of thing.
Redfall, the problem with Redfall is that we don't really even understand what the game is. Most people, if you ask them, they'll describe it and probably be wrong about it if they're able to describe something at all. So that was a major problem. My expectation with GoldenEye is that it's coming out quite soon. The gameplay would be ready, and I think it would blow people's minds that it's actually a remake and it's coming soon. I like that's kind of like a stipulation of my excitement around it.
Yeah.
If it is what everybody else is saying, nope, throw it in the middle of the show. You'll give it kind of like a Battletoads kind of experience, whatever, spotlight. You know, like it's here and it's available next week or whatever, and it's part of Game Pass, which by the way, it totally is going to be part of Game Pass.
I mean, the achievements are already out on Xbox website, Sean, and it'll be on Game Pass.
No, this thing is real. Like there is no doubt in my mind. So now it's just a matter of when is it? Yeah, and like that's basically it.
Yeah.
When is it? And is it an actual remake or is it the 64 game? Somebody compared it to what we got with like Perfect Dark on 360. I'm like, man, I really do hope it's better than that. Like that, I will say, as excited as I am for the potential of this, if all we get is Perfect Dark version of this, like we've learned a lot about this sort of thing since then. So my expectations are higher.
Whereas I'm actually in line with the fact that this is just going to be Perfect Dark. With like the Perfect Dark, re-release, but with GoldenEye, and also they've already made a remake of this game, Sean, with Daniel Craig as opposed to Pierce Brosnan being.
That's not what I mean, and you know it. That's not the expectation.
But I mean, literally everything Blaze Knight described in his question is literally what that GoldenEye remake was.
Yeah, no, that's not what I mean.
It had multiplayer modes. It had weapon and control changes and map stuff. So. I mean, that game was still good, too. I like that remake. I have that on 360.
So do I. Actually, I think I have it on Wii, and then I think I got Quantum of Solace on 360.
Yeah, because it was a Wii exclusive for a bit, and then eventually it came to PS3 and 360. And that one's a little bit more rare than the Wii version, whereas that one is just kind of...
Is it really?
Yeah, not super rare, but rare enough anyways. Well, next up, the Muffin Mon, a.k.a. Kevin Ainsworth, asks, how do you guys feel about leaks? With Kojima's new game being leaked and then him having to ask for the article to be taken down, should journalists refrain from posting this kind of content as it ruins the surprise, or is it that the studio is it on the studio to ensure that this information doesn't get out? So I feel like we get this question kind of like around E3 time, like every year, because I remember us talking about this last year too, and that's part of the reason why, Sean, we don't really talk about leaks on our show at all? Like we talked about
Certainly
it a little
not
bit.
rumors.
Yeah.
Certainly not like rumors where it's like unsubstantiated. So I did poke and prod a little bit on the Nintendo thing because it sounded like it was real to me. But you're right. We do make a pretty concerted effort to go like, no, we don't even really have time like to talk about rumors because we only have enough time to talk about what's real. So, but there is a lot of fun to be had about speculation and things like that. But to this specific question, I don't actually know if I have like a full-on answer to it. In that, I do think that journalists play an interesting role in trying to uncover things, and I think that does lend itself to uncovering games that are in development and things like that. So, I think that there is something to be said about that. Whether or not they should or shouldn't, I think they probably should, and they probably should have some sort of judgment call on it, on like what are the damages going to be. So I can't think of an example off the top of my head where they would leak something that would I don't know, ruin a reputation for somebody or ruin something other than just a surprise. I think it has to be, the consideration to not leak it has to be more substantial and meaningful and material than it's going to ruin somebody's surprise. And this is coming from somebody who I literally just said, I'm here to be surprised. And I, as a consumer and even as a podcaster, I don't like leaks. I don't like when surprises are ruined for me. But as far like I'm actually separating my viewpoint from here to what I think like games journalists should do. They probably should do that. That probably is their role in all of this. I just I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you where I like kind of the surprise factor of not knowing going into it, because there are a lot of, announcements that, like the Resident Evil 4 one, for example, if we didn't know that was coming and we just saw that trailer for the first time during the State of Play, I think we would have been even more excited for that game.
Yeah.
Just learning about it for the first time there. But because, there have been so many leaks over at Capcom that we kind of knew it was coming. So it does deflate from the announcement. But you're right about the fact that I don't think journalistic outlets should really, shy away from this type of thing if the penalty for doing so would just be ruining the surprise of it, essentially. Like, as long as no one gets hurt, that's the main thing. And not only that too, but when this announced, like if a news site is reporting on something that, like, let's say leaks on Reddit or leaks on, another forum or another public place that anyone on the public can go view, then at that point, as long as they're not embargoed, I think that it's fair game at that point. Like, that's how I look at that situation. Like,
I think the nature of the leak is that it would be embargoed, and I guess that's the thing here. Is
no,
like,
if they didn't already have like an embargo in place currently with that company, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, I think I'm assuming that the means of which the information has been captured is at least somewhat, it has some integrity to it. Like, it's not like somebody went in and broke into, like, all the stuff that happened with like The Last of Us Part 2, like, which I think was actually an embarrassingly low level of security around. I think the password was like password or something stupid like that, 1 2 3 4 5. But yeah, I don't think that, I think there's like it's almost like rules of engagement with this sort of thing. Like, you don't break a window and steal somebody's laptop and then leak that information. Like, that's not journalism.
Yeah,
it's through like sources and questions and things like that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's a given, but I feel like
each outlet has to have its own, ethics set of standards in place with this stuff, and decide what's the best course of action for them. Just like with us, as Carpool Gaming, Sean, is technically an outlet. We're a smaller outlet, but we exist, so we had to make judgment calls on stuff like that too. Where we made the judgment call a long time ago that we really don't talk about this stuff on our shows, and that's how the way we feel about it. But at the same time, I wouldn't discourage another outlet for, deciding otherwise.
Yeah, and I think the last thing that I would say on it too is like now coming at it from the perspective of a content creator and thinking about whether journalists should or shouldn't leak this sort of thing. When they do leak it, it does make things a little harder for especially small content creators to be part of that conversation where we become included in like a trusted source. Like there's embargoed stuff that happens all the time, and we are entrusted to keep that a secret. And as stuff gets harder and harder to keep it secret, even with embargoed information, then what else do you want these information holders to do other than tighten things up a little bit and go like, well, we're going to trust it maybe fewer people. So from a content creator's perspective, I might be inclined to go, yeah, stop ruining it for the rest of us. But I understand why they would do it, why it exists. So yeah, it's a complex issue. Like there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, then, last question of the week comes to us from Delroy, who asked the question: one franchise I'd love to see return is 1 versus 100. What would a new entry / spiritual successor look like in 2022, given the rapid evolution of the internet, apps, and mobile devices? So for folks that don't know, in case you weren't around during the 360 era, because there's no way to go back and play this game now, 1 versus 100 was essentially a weekly game show that happened on Xbox Live every single week. And essentially you could join the game for free as long as you had an Xbox Live Gold subscription. And then you would either play as the 100 in the crowd, or you might be selected as the one to kind of compete versus the crowd. And it would basically be a trivia game where you'd compete against the crowd if you were the one, so you could win prizes. And essentially everyone who played, even if you were in the 100 crowd, could still like earn like Xbox, bonus points, which was the currency before you could actually pay in dollars, essentially. So I love the idea of 1 versus 100. I remember having so much fun with it because I basically carved out time every single what night of the week it was. I can't remember. I think it was a Wednesday, every single Wednesday night to jump in and do 1 versus 100, and had a great time with it. So I would love to see it return, Delroy.
Yeah, man.
It would probably end up being an app of some kind though, whether it's an app on the Xbox App Store or on your phone, and then you probably just compete with it in a bunch of different ways. I think that's how it would kind of be. I don't know. I'm blanking on the name of this, Sean, but do you remember there was like a quiz app that
Trivia
was like,
HQ?
Yes, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
It would totally be like something like that. But I've talked enough about this. Sean, what do you think?
No, I'm 100% with you, and I think in terms of like the evolution of the internet, it reminds me of when the Xbox One came out, and you had to have it connected. It wouldn't work if you didn't have the Kinect plugged in, Ryan, if you recall. Mm-hmm. And I really thought that like with the advancement of streaming and Twitch streaming became a thing, that combination of the Xbox One being able to stream out to an audience and having a camera, I really thought like Rock Band and Guitar Hero were going to become a thing of like performance kind of art or performance gaming, where people could like get a band together and then like stream out to their communities. But then copyright kind of just totally ruined all that. There's no way that you could have done anything like that. But the point and the reason I bring that up is, with something like 1 versus 100, I just think this is something that could be cultivated with communities, and these communities that have really risen since over the last 8 years or so. That could we host our own 1 versus 100, or to your point, like then you just include like the entire world. Could you have like a 1 versus 1,000 or 10,000? Like that would be interesting as well. Maybe it scales. But yeah, I think instead of scaling to be larger, which obviously you could do, and that's kind of what Trivia HQ was, and it was remarkable for that. Yeah, it could scale down a little bit as well, and maybe you could have your own little parties as well.
Nice. Well, anyways,
also, rest in peace to Bob Saget, who obviously was the host of the original 1 versus 100.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Anyways, we got to go, Sean. But before we go, Sean, plugs you.
You can find me on Twitch and on Twitter at Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants, and in Toronto this weekend. That's where you'll find me. So hit me up. DM me. DMs are open, I think, for the most part, or join our Discord, because we're gonna have a great time this weekend, my friend.
Very nice, friend. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. You can find us on Twitter at Carpool Gaming, on YouTube at youtube.com/Carpool Gaming, and on podcast services around the globe. So for Sean Capri, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 244 of the Xbox Drive. And we out. Bye.
I am seeing so many people in the chat, including Ryan and Court and Kevin, and a lot of people saying that GoldenEye thing is not going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal, and you guys are just, why are you being such Debbie Downers? Bye.